your bank, or all the banks for that matter, are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And we're back with more Freedom of Joyce on Revolution Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. And just want to let everybody know that this is actually my 4th show. And I want to thank our guests for being here. I'm finally getting into the chat line. And so I'm starting to incorporate that to the show. I am logged in the chat line right now. I actually signed up last night and hung out for a little while. It's a new experience for me. The chat line's a new experience, but if anybody out there does have any questions for our guest, within the next half hour, when we go into the second hour, we're going to be adding those opportunity to ask us, anything or to interject in our broadcast. So please do. And also just want to let you know that Revolution Radio, this wonderful radio station that we get to broadcast from and to talk about free subject matters like this one. We are listener supported, and we are the #1 listener supported station in the whole wide world. And so jump on there and support us by checking us out at freedomslips.com and making a donation to us and keeping us on the air. Right now I have Dino Reynolds with us, who does he has a YouTube site he's been doing for quite a while now called Dino Dad 32. You can find him on dinodad32.com. And he is very pro, Second Amendment, and also many of our freedoms that our Constitution is out there. Dino, would you call yourself a constitutionalist?
Well, I've been labeled many things. There are all new words that are labeling us because we don't want to pigeonhole us into Republicans and Democrats. People have said, oh, I've listened to you and you're definitely a libertarian. I never really considered myself that, but there are new categories that are going to be coming out. Definitely I'm for gun freedom and anti-gun control. We have to be really clear on that. We don't want to be controlled by the government. And, if there's a new group that's all going to come together with all the freedoms that we want, that's where we should be. Dino,
the minute I ended up doing a little video,
Yes.
I did it to, I have it on YouTube. I put it to,
Yes, I saw it.
You saw great. That? Because I took a lot of pictures with guns when I was in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I specifically took some pictures of me smoking a joint with the gun on purpose because of the legality behind it. I'm just making a point, obviously, but I put the video out, and it's got ZZ Top music, Lagrange or Lagrange. Is that what's called Lagrange or Lagrange? I'm not sure which one is which. And I put it out on my Facebook, and some of my friends actually, I got, hey, what are you, a Tea Partier? Or, hey, join the Tea Party. And I got these automatic labels just based on, standing doing what I did.
We shouldn't be labeled. I mean, we all should be Americans. We should be proud. Just because we're Republican or Democrat doesn't mean we're anti-nation.
I'll
I
still date a Republican, by the way. You know what I mean? I don't have any prejudice against Republicans. So if you
well,
are conservative, you can go ahead and call me. I'm just kidding.
well, I was very conservative, but
Uh,
I think these, systems that they put out there, the Democrat, Republican, are just a way of labeling us, are a way of dividing us, separating us. They have us fighting against each other instead of fighting. What we should really be fighting is them, because they're really taking over, and the government is overstepping their bounds. You know, it's absolutely illegal what they're doing. And I want to commend our hero overseas in Russia, Edward Snowden, who's definitely a hero. He's a patriot, and he made us all aware what we all knew, that they're data mining us. And he shouldn't be vilified. The president vilified him and said he's a traitor. He's not a traitor. They called George Washington a traitor. He was anti-British, and they called him a traitor. And many of these men who signed the Declaration of Independence were labeled traitors, and their houses were burned, their families were killed, and still they signed the Declaration of Independence. And they talk about the 3%ers now. Well, during the Revolutionary War, only 3% of people in the nation participated. And look what we did. We kicked the ass, I can't say those words, of the British government, which was the most powerful government in the world at the time and had the best, most organized army. And we won over that because 3% of us said, we don't want to be under their rule with no representation.
you know what? I agree with you, and I feel that that is that we are being taxed without representation. I mean, I know that, or we're over here. I mean, like, even if you want to talk about representation, uh, even are we represented by by our Senate? Are we represented by our city council?
This is
No.
not a democracy. This is not a republic anymore. We never tried to be a republic. We tried to be a democracy. But you really think those millionaires and billionaires in Congress are representing us? No, absolutely not. We do not live in a democracy. We live in a plutarchy. A plutarchy is a government led by the rich elite. And, we talked the other day about the shadow government and this shadow groups that are really controlling our government. But this is what's happening today, and you have to be blind not to see it. Really. We don't have representation. The people that pay off the congressmen and the senators get laws passed to make themselves richer.
The lobbyists have representation, is basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's Congress by lobby, but the lobbyists are paid off by the rich corporations that are growing way too big and way out of control when they are absolutely hurting and harming us, like Monsanto is putting known poisons in food and controlling the food of the world.
Well, I love how the president signed the Monsanto Protection Act without us even realizing it was happening. Just all of a sudden it was done. And the same thing with the NDAA bill. I think it came out during the holidays or close to the holidays.
Well, the NDAA comes out every year. Congress
Uh-huh.
approves the national defense, and they slipped into it this indefinite detention on the in 2011 on New Year's Eve, when most of the congressmen and senators were home, partying, and they slipped this NDAA through Congress with a provision for indefinite detention. I've been reading a lot about that. And we really, if there's something we need to get up, go out in the streets and scream and start burning torches about, holy crap, do you realize how we've lost our Fourth Amendment right, our rights to search and seizure? I mean, the NDAA is the big bill that went through, and they slipped into indefinite detention. Now, we should talk about this, and everybody should know about this and be clear about it. Our whole lives, we grew up saying, okay, we're in America. We have rights. We have freedom. They're not going to just break down my door and throw me in jail for no reason at all. But that's exactly what they can do now. All they have to do is label you a terrorist. And the description in the NDAA, why they can label you a terrorist, is so vague. It says, if you have ammunition in your home, you could be labeled a terrorist. If you have more than 5 days worth of food in your fridge, you could be labeled a terrorist. These little things. And once they label you a
The
terrorist,
way you say that, for a minute, I have to interrupt. It just reminds me of like you might be a redneck.
well,
It's
yeah,
a little bit
well,
of a
the
Jeff
way I said
Foxworthy.
it,
You might be labeled as a terrorist if you look in the wrong direction at the wrong person and like give a smirk. You might be a terrorist. It's like it's getting almost.
It's really it's not a joke. It's
If
scary.
you believe in freedom, you might be a terrorist. Okay, all right.
But what we have here now today is martial law. It's Guantanamo Bay here in our country. What they can do now is they can call anybody they want a terrorist or a criminal, and they come into your home and they imprison you with no due process. You don't have any rights. You don't have the right to see a lawyer or a trial by a jury. You're not even charged with anything. It's indefinite detention. They grab you, they don't like you, they throw you in jail. It's like, the Gestapo, or what they did in the Gulag in Russia. When they didn't like people in Russia, they didn't like what you were saying, they grabbed you off the street and they threw you in jail forever, and people never saw you again. And we thought, well, that's terrible. How could they do that? We have rights against that. But we lost those rights. We gave them away. And we should really just riot in the streets and say, hey, this is an important right. I don't want to be rousted out of my bed in the middle of the night for nothing and be thrown in jail with no rights and never see a lawyer.
But rioting, look, when we say yes, we should riot in the streets. Yes, we should protest in the streets. Yes, we have the right to peacefully assemble. But that's even being taken away from us, because now isn't it where if you can't, if you're on where Secret Service is, you can then be arrested, or I mean, like it's illegal now. I mean, look at England. They're not even they're not allowed to do that. They'll I guess like water blast them, or they'll put a big hose on them now. It's legal for them to, I forgot what they call. I have to look at the term again. It just sounds terrible. They just like wash them down with water, and it's perfectly okay to do those kind of things. Well, what's next? Is it going to be perfectly okay to go, hey, yeah, we can do our rubber bullets at you because you're not allowed to do this in front of the Secret Service? I mean, is this where we're at right now, do you think, Dino?
Well, we're losing those freedoms too. And everybody should know, and I want to commend you, that Terry Joyce has been out there working very hard with many movements, including Occupy movements. And we should all commend her for going out there. And I feel ashamed. I mean, I wanted to join you many times. I think the Occupy movement is the tip of the iceberg. I think it will get much worse, and we have to get things much worse before things get better. And we all can talk about our freedoms and all this, but few of us get out there and really try to do something. I mean, I try to do something. I try to inspire people on my YouTube channel at DinoDad32.com. Please come and visit my channel and leave comments, even if they're negative comments. I want to hear what people have to say.
I'm going to interrupt for just one moment, because I do want to start to include the chat line into what is going to here. But somebody just said, talk about like rights.
Yeah.
They just and actually, it just mentioned about that somebody got arrested. See, I think they ran out of old homeless people to kick around. Florida police arrested a 12-year-old for farting. And have they lost their minds? I don't know. This one just really kind of caught my eye for a moment.
But, you were talking about the Occupy movement. I don't know if you want to get into that.
Sure, I would.
Right, you're right about that. They're coming up with crazy new laws, which are not authorized by any oversight committee. Like, you can't protest, like you said, the Secret Service officer. You can't protest them from an embassy or government building, or, they're coming up with more and more stuff. So they'll arrest you and say, hey, you were, 2,000 yards from a school, and you can't protest in front. They'll make up stuff just to arrest you. And you have a lot more experience in this. I think it's important that we all get out there and show our distrust and our dismay in what's going on today in the government and what the government is doing.
Dino, I want to share something with you. When I did do Occupy, and I occupied maybe like 11 days, I think, out of because I was still working, and so I would come and go when I could. Thank you. It's nice to be.
You don't know how important what you're doing is. It's really important. It's our only ability at this point. Voting does nothing. But when you go out there and yell and scream and say, hey, we've had enough, that's going to change the world. That's going to change the government. And it has in the past, and that's our only avenue in the future. And things will get worse.
Well, I find it interesting that it happens everywhere. I mean, like it wasn't just like the United States being an occupier. It was the entire world. It happened through. It sprouted out globally. So,
that's an important point. Let me interrupt you. That's an important point. The fact that people protest in Europe, things change in Europe. Governments are scared of the protesters in Europe, in places like France, when they stop work and they all go on in the streets and yell and scream, things change. It's a different balance of power here in America. We're scared of our government, which is the exact opposite of the way it should be. They should be scared of us. They only have power because we give them power. And they don't realize, and we don't realize, that if we take away their power, and we can do that very easily, they don't control us anymore. But we're letting them control us because most of us are sitting on the couch and not doing anything and saying, oh yeah, let the federal government do whatever they want. But we have to realize they're crossing the line. Don't you think they're crossing the line of common human decency and crossing the line of legalities when they're violating our First, Second, Third, and Fourth Amendments? And it's horrible what we're letting them do to us today. And we have to stop them. We have to stop this flow. It's a slippery slope. You let them take your Second Amendment away, then your First Amendment, and then you have no one to talk to about it. It's like that old saying they had in Nazi Germany. When they came for the Catholics, I wasn't Catholic, I said nothing. When they came for the Jews, I wasn't a Jew, I said nothing. When they came and arrested the communists, I wasn't a communist, and I said nothing. When they came for me, there was no one left to say anything to.
Yeah, I love that. I've read that.
I botched it. I didn't say it as
Wait, it's okay. It's okay to paraphrase. You're an actor, and I agree with you. It's the Occupy. When you look at it, when you realize that there's a 1% and then there's a 99%. Well, just by doing the math, what has more energy, what does have more power behind it. It's like come on, we can really do something about this. And one of the things that I think that Occupy did do is it did make us become aware of this. It is aware enough so that now you have somebody like Russell Brand who makes reference to the 1%, and it's becoming a part of our speech. It's becoming a part of our awareness. And even if that's the only thing that it accomplished, and also like to create some of the awareness of like what happened to our money, because really it's about money, and no matter how you break it down, money is involved with most of the corruption that exists in our world and the suffering of other people. And what is that all about? I believe it's the consciousness that is behind the money. Money is just another material object. It doesn't really have, it's not really alive. The same thing with like a gun. A gun is a material object. It's something that does something. It is part of a function into an end result. Now, there can, again, according to some people, it can be positive. Let's say you need to feed your family, and you're out in the wild and you just do it the old style and go hunt and get your food and feed your family. It can be a necessary tool for your survival or just for defense. Somebody comes in, they're you have an attacker thank God, you can like protect your family because you own a gun. You're not necessarily out there to just go shoot somebody or be a terrorist or any of those things. You're just being armed in the same safety that the rest of the world. That as our founding fathers, as the Constitution said, you have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to have all of the ammunition that any other individual has, and there shouldn't be a balance out. There shouldn't be a balance. There shouldn't. No, one person shouldn't have something over another person. That we all live on equal ground. And when you talk about that right being taken away, then what you're saying is like, to me, I feel that it's psychologically saying like, look, you're a child, you're a person that's not worthy, or you're not human enough to actually have the right to have a gun and be responsible for it. And one of the things that you mentioned was Dianne Feinstein, and the mention, the anti-gun and all this kind of stuff. And the minute that they were talking about taking guns away, what happened? Boom, they all got sold. Big money was made. And isn't it now, I was it you that told me, or somebody told me that Dianne Feinstein actually has stock in one of the gun companies, so she actually had a big profit day herself based on the legislation that she's trying to have happen.
She's had a big profit year. Her husband owns a large part of stock in Bushmaster, which is one of the major manufacturers of weapons in this country. Now, don't we all see that's a conflict of interest when she's passing gun laws and her husband owns a large part of a major gun manufacturer? I mean, that's a fact that you can't dispute that, and she has bodyguards protecting her with guns. She's a hypocrite. She's doing this all for control, and she keeps saying, as many people in the government, we're just doing it for your own safety and protection. Now, I don't want to leave behind Occupy. I want to touch on that, and again, we all have to commend, all of us are sitting at home on the couch, and Terry's out there doing something to change the world. But let's just start with guns and what guns are and what they're for. Many people, their lives were saved when we had the riots here back in 1991, and they owned guns, and people rioted and burned down the houses and businesses, and the people who had guns were able to protect themselves. Now, guns could be a tool, and many people in this country, you don't realize, we all go to supermarkets, but people up in Alaska don't go to supermarkets. They need that gun to survive, to feed their kids. But what that gun does, sitting on the shelf or sitting in a safe in my house, it's a peace of mind that if someone invades my home, I could protect them. What am I going to do? If someone comes into my house and tries to harm my family, of course I'm going to want to protect them. What am I going to do? Hit them with a knife or a cleaver? You're going to have to defend yourself. Now, the whole gun culture, I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to go out and shoot living things. That's not my thing. I mean, some people like to go hunt, and that's great. That's a great American tradition. I hope I never have to use my gun to kill an intruder or another person. That would be a horrible thing. The people say, oh, how terrible it is to kill another person, how terrible war is. I've seen it, and it's the worst thing in the world. War, man killing man. And I'm not for killing other people. But I don't want my TV taken away that I spent weeks working for, and I have the right to stop that person from taking away my TV. If 2 or 3 guys come in my house, what am I going to do? Fight them? No, I'm going to shoot them and kill them, and I have the right to do that. Just as, we can touch upon the subject, and it's a really scary subject.
We'll be right back with more Freedom of Joyce after this break. And Dino Reynolds. Stay tuned.
cerebral cortex, looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your legs are too weak to move. Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story. You're listening to Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio. Your host of the Samson Report. Join me for Wild Bill's Headline Roundup every Saturday night, right here on Revolution Radio.
Gentlemen, this is a test. Moments such as these are matters of faith. To fail is to invite doubt into everything we believe, everything that we have fought for. Doubt will plunge this country back into chaos, and I will not let that happen. Gentlemen, I want this terrorist found, and I want him to understand what terror really means.
Are you aware of all the poisons you face today? From the fluoride in the drinking water to preservatives in the food you eat. Join Sally O'Cordy for Ban Vaccines 2013 as she and her guests inform you of all the toxins you're not aware of, like those in the syringe a doctor offers you as treatment. Mothers are so good about checking food labels for the ingredients in something they're going to fix for dinner. How much do you know about ingredients in a vaccine your child is about to get injected with? Remember, death starts at the end of the needle.
Will you fight? No! We will run! We will live!
Shame on you. This could be the greatest night of our lives. But you're gonna let it be the worst.
And I guarantee a week won't go by in your life. You won't regret walking out, letting them get the best of you.
Well, I'm not going home.
We've got too far!
And I'm gonna stay right here and fight for this lost cause.
A day may come when the courage of men fails, but it is not this day.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
I'm not saying it's gonna be easy.
You're gonna work harder than you ever worked before.
But that's fine, we'll just get tougher with it.
If a person grits his teeth and shows real determination,
Failure is not an option.
That's how winning is done.
Believe me when I say we can break this army here.
And win just one for the Gipper.
But I say to you, what every warrior has known since the beginning of time, you've got to get mad.
I mean plumb mad dog mean.
If you would be free men, then you must fight to fulfill that promise. Let us cut out their living guts 1 inch at a time.
and they will know what we can do.
Let no man forget how menacing we are. We are lions.
You're like a big bear, man.
This is your time. Seize the day.
Never surrender.
Victory or death.
That's the Chicago.
Who with me?
Claire! Claire, don't let him die! Claire!
All right, let's fly. And gentlemen in England, now on deck, shall know my name is the law. But I tell Londoners that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our Independence Day.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. One world coming together to bring freedom home. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
There is no good and evil. There is only power. And those too weak to seek it.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us.
And may God defend the right. Be sure to tune in weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Strange Universe with Sean David Morton. The strange, interesting, and engaging wide variety of topics. So be here. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back to the Freedom of Joyce show on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Thank you so much for joining us. I just want to make you a reminder that we are listener supported here at Revolution Radio. So please give us a donation and keep us up on the air with all this wonderful, wonderful programming. There's so many great shows here on the network. And I've actually had the opportunity of being guests on some of them. The Stephen D. Kelly show, and also the Just Bernard show, whom I do a lot of work with Bernard Alvarez on the Global Illumination Council. And so, and there's just so many that I myself am exploring, and I'm super happy to be here with this network. So keep us going. One of the things that I did mention was, this happened in the chat line, and I don't know why. I can't help it. Farting's just funny. But Florida police, and I'm talking about our rights. This is how bad it's getting here in America. I mean, I know in England that, they've lost their free speech, but, right now in Florida, there has been a boy that apparently has been arrested, a 12-year-old boy for farting. And the headline was, "Had they lost their minds?" This did come from the Revolution Radio chat line. Schools have always had their fair share of problem children, but we used to actually be able to cope with them in a reasonable and sensible manner. Not so anymore. A scan of headlines across America for just this past week showed me some bizarre and horrifying examples of how we in North America are doing our best to instill an abiding sense of fear and a terror of police into our children. For example, the case of a 12-year-old student at Stewart Spectrum Junior Senior High School was arrested for farting in class. Sure, the little puke was being disruptive. He's a 12-year-old boy, for crying out loud. He's supposed to be disruptive at that age. It's in his DNA. You kick him out of class until he settles down, maybe even send him home after a phone call to his parents, but to bring the police and arrest the kid, put him in handcuffs, and parade him out like a terrorist. And it said that is so far beyond absurd. I don't even know what to call it. Clearly, police from the Martin County Sheriff's Department need to get a life, or at the very least, go find some actual criminals to harass. So now my question is like, is it going to get so absurd that we can't fart our own guns at the same time? Okay, anyway, I want to introduce my guest back, Dino Reynolds, with the show, who is, who has quite a lot of thoughts about the Second Amendment and guns. And you are, you basically are, you teach marksmanship too on your channel. And when did you learn? What was the first experience that you had when you learned how to use a gun? It's the first time shooting.
First of all, if they're going to start arresting us for farting, I would be in federal prison for what I just did this morning. And that's, where you got to draw the line somewhere where they're arresting kids and kicking kids out of school for making guns out of Legos or pointing their finger at teachers. I mean, it's the whole educational system is out of whack.
Well, I mean, just think about it. That poor kid. I mean, like you're gonna now he's gonna go to high school known as the guy who got arrested for farting. I mean, like I don't think that's he's probably gonna grow up and be a comedian. I mean, how do you get over that?
That's pretty funny. That's true. I mean, I'm sure he'll be proud of that. So hey, don't make me fart again.
I mean, like, did he light it on fire or something? Was it combustion that got him handcuffed?
Great video on YouTube the other day about this guy lighting his farts on fire. And my son came up to me and was like, "Can you really do that? Can we try that at home?" I was like, "Yeah, you can really do that." But this is going to a new level. We're talking about farting, but
right.
There's a lot bigger issues. But
right, absolutely.
It's important to.
But it's related still.
Yeah. It's our freedoms.
It's our freedom. I have the right to fart if I want to.
Absolutely. That's
right.
what I keep telling my whole family. During the dinner table, I said, "Look, I bought this house. I can fart in this house anytime I want, for as long as I want. And if you have to get up from the table and maybe leave the neighborhood, that's your problem. I bought this house."
Okay.
You have the right to fart. For God's sakes, you get to a point you're like, when you're a little kid, you're embarrassed to fart.
Right.
Well, this is a crazy subject. Now I'm proud of it. I'm like, hey, I bought this house. I bought this car. I can fart in this car. Maybe even in public at restaurants. Like, hey, I'm paying for this meal. It's their problem. They're vomitous. That was really my goal when I was a young boy, is to make someone else vomitous because of my air. So, you have to have goals in life. But back to more important.
Okay. I'm sorry, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, all right. I thought for a minute I lost you for a second. Maybe okay, so you tell me, you have a story about your first time that you learned to shoot. Would you like to?
Well, it's a whole lifetime of shooting. I grew up in upstate New York in a small town, and everybody hunted up there. And my father taught me a great respect for guns. And that's how I started. And I was, a natural when he took me out to shooting and to the ski range, and he was very impressed with my skills. But then, as I grew up, I went into the military, into Marine Corps at Parris Island, South Carolina. And it is the toughest place in the world that you can be. And they also teach the best marksmanship, or the best marksman there. And I qualified expert my first time as a marksman on Parris Island. I was very, very proud of that. I wanted to do that very much. And I qualified, I think, second in my battalion on the KD course, the rifle range, the known distance course. And when I came off of that and qualified so high, there was a sniper that was there at Parris Island. He took me aside and he said, "You're an extremely good marksman and I can make you better." And he took me off for about 2 weeks and trained me as a great marksman. He was a brilliant marksman. And then after that, I said, "Now I'm a great shooter." And he said, "No, you have to spend a lifetime learning to be a great shooter." And I've dedicated myself to that for the last 25 years, even after the Marine Corps, to honing my skills and improving my skills. And most of all, I have a deep passion and respect for my guns. I love my guns. They mean so much to me. It's an inanimate object that I have a deep connection with. It's part of my body. And I continue to train and continue to teach people marksmanship. And if you want to see some of my videos on marksmanship, you can go to DinoDad32.com. My name's Dino. It's Dino. A lot of people pronounce it Dino Dad, but it's DinoDad32.com. They'll send you to a link to my YouTube channel, and I have some excellent videos on marksmanship. And I came up with, I learned a lot from the Marine Corps, but I came up with my own set of rules for marksmanship, which I share on the YouTube channel. And I will be doing some new videos on not just marksmanship, but proper maintenance and cleaning. Basically, I focus on the AR-15 rifle. That's been in the news, a lot of controversy, but I love the AR-15. I still call it an M16, which we called it in the Marine Corps. And I focus on the M4 rifle and the AR-15 rifle on my channel. And I hope you can join me there and leave a comment. And check out some of my videos on not just guns, but politics, and maybe even get a laugh or two, in some of my videos. You've seen my videos.
I have seen your videos, and you do some pretty funny comedic characters as well in them. So, can you tell our listeners know some of the little extra bonuses that you get? Not only do you, are you, pro Second Amendment and gun enthusiast and educating people and the best type of gun. You're like an expert on guns. But, you go into subject matters, which I want to get to in a moment. I do want to talk about the Federal Reserve, because you have a lot of information and knowledge on that as well. But you give a little bit of a history and about America and, what's going on currently and how you view the world, which I just really love, by the way. And then you also, have these funny characters that you have at the end of the show, it seems like, and then you also make an individual YouTube video of these characters. What are some of the characters comedic characters that you do?
Well, I have one main character that keeps coming back, and his name is Happy Slappy, and he's kind of an Alabama redneck, and I kind of put him there as the things I don't want to say on my channel that sound kind of goofy, but I have him say it, and then it sounds kind of funny. And I hope, I put a lot of time and effort into my YouTube channel and my comedic excerpts that I do, and I think they come out really good. I don't know. I mean, did you find them funny? I sent you a link the other day to a hippie character that I tried out, and I'll probably bring him back. I do a Arab guy. I did a Saddam Hussein lookalike kind of thing. I know you've seen that one, right? But my main character is the Happy Slappy that I call my long-lost redneck cousin in Alabama, and he says a lot of things that we all want to say.
I kind of like how you said how you came up with the Saddam Hussein bit. Like one day you just woke up and said, I look like Saddam Hussein today.
Well,
and by the way, anybody who's listening, like, Dino really doesn't look like Saddam Hussein. But, I guess there's one day where, describe how that happened. How you just
Well, I was, working a job I was not so happy with, and I let myself go. And I just looked in the mirror one day, and I had long, scraggly hair and a big, scraggly beard. And one morning I looked in the mirror and I said, oh my God, I look like Saddam Hussein, who just came out of the hole in Iraq. And I thought, oh my God, I look so much like him. I got to film this. So I threw on a jacket. I put a noose around my neck and went in front of the camera. And you've seen it. It came out very good. I think it's one of my best bits. I laugh at it when I watch it. And it just came out. It's just the right makeup and the right, I don't know what Saddam Hussein would sound like in English, but this is what I interpreted him to be. But that's just one of the many little things. I've done characters like a Bill Murray type of character from Caddyshack, Carl Spengler, hey, everybody out there, and this is just for medicinal purposes, kind of that kind of character. And many different ones that I try to express different things with. And I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you go to my channel at DinoDad32.com and follow the link, and you can see some of those and many other videos.
I have a question to ask you, Dino, and one thing that I find interesting in our society. Actually, I'm also looking at the chat line. Somebody wrote, "This is my rifle, this is my gun." I guess that's like a South Park song.
No, no. That's the Marine Corps mod. It's like something that's very important to Marines. I talk
really?
about it in my videos. Yes, it's a saying that Marines do. You know it from South Park.
I'm like a South Park. Is it South Park?
It goes on for many pages, but it starts. Okay. This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. And it talks about how important your rifle is to you, and it's something that we learned in the Marine Corps, and how without my rifle I am useless. And it's the Marines are first and foremost riflemen. They're marksmen, and that's their first job, and their gun is very important to them. But really, I've grown a strong passion, closeness to my guns even after the Marine Corps, and I've gotten at some points even better than when I was in the Marine Corps. And when I was there, I was very good. Very good.
I find it interesting, Dino, that that there's so much conditioning for for when you're in the military to be that attached to your gun. This is my rifle. This is my gun. This is like
not all the
no, but I mean, but then like it's your. I don't know. Maybe conditioning isn't the right word to say, but obviously it's like doing the Pledge of Allegiance. It's like this is my. It's like a mantra of in your brain for you to repeat over and over again to have an attachment to your rifle, to be in service to your country. So it links into this kind of thing, and yet after you leave the military, you leave that environment, and then you come back into civilian life. Do they expect that to just go away, like as if that pertains to this particular world, but that's not into what our reality is over here?
That's something that's been a problem for many years, throughout history, really. Years ago, when we were off to World War II, you were in combat, and you didn't see a lot of combat in World War II, and you took a month to get home. You were, conditioned to a different world, a different set of morals and ideas. And then when you're exposed to regular life, it seems kind of benign and boring to you. And, nowadays when you have guys in Afghanistan and they were in Iraq, and they're shooting and fighting every day, and then 24 hours later they're standing at a dinner party in Washington somewhere, your brain just doesn't adjust that quickly. And there's a lot of problems with guys coming back, even just looking for the excitement of having that gun. And, it is a conditioning. It is a mantra. Everything you said was true. They teach you to name your gun, a girl's name, and you're attached to that gun. That's your girlfriend. And to me, my gun is a part of me. It's an extension of my arm. I find it extremely fascinating, that I can hold a gun here and something way down far, 1,000 yards away possibly, could be hit or knocked over. I think the rifle, many people argue with me about this. It's the greatest piece of engineering that mankind has ever came up with. And it's thousands of years in the making. And I find it extremely fascinating how, some people are fascinated by cars or planes. I have a deep passion, and I'm fascinated by how the gun works. And, I talk about that on my YouTube channel, not to refer to that all the time. But, there was a basic question to all this in the beginning. There's weeks and weeks of training, just learning what we call snapping in, how to hold the rifle before you get to shoot the rifle. And, it was the day I got my qualification. I qualified expert my first time at the hardest course in the world, the KD course at Paris Island. It was one of the proudest days of my life. When they pinned that badge on me of expert rifleman, it still till today, it sends chills up my back as I say it, and I proudly have my expert rifleman badge, which I've earned 6 times since then.
Dino, I have something I want to bring up from the chat line. Someone proposed an interesting question. Do you think it's important to start training people on alternative weapons, archery, for example?
Yeah, it's great. I always feel that, you're not a great marksman unless you know a variety of weapons. Now, on my YouTube channel, I made a blowgun. I've been making blowguns for years, and you think, well, that's the craziest thing. I can hit something in 50 yards accurately with a blowgun. And believe me, when I make these needles, they're going to get your attention if I hit you with it. And, you know, it's good to be a skilled archer, you know, understand pistols and all types of weapons, including knives. You know, when your gun fails, you're going to pull out your knife. I don't think you're a true marksman unless you have a knowledge of a wide variety of weapons and all different types of defense mechanisms.
Well, that's interesting because you know you forget about things like archery and you know other alternative types of defense or weapons that are out there.
There are many different types of weapons you can defend yourself with, you know, and you should be trained in all these weapons to be a great marksman. A great marksman doesn't have just one gun that he's great with. A great marksman can take a variety of different weapons and use them, you know, effectively. I feel, you know, and I do, you know, go into some alternate weapons on my YouTube channel, and I should talk more about that. People thought I was crazy, you know, blowgun, you know, you got this rifle, what are you going to do with this blowgun? Until they saw me shoot it, and how accurate and how deadly this blowgun could be. And that's something you can make with just a few simple items around the home. Now, I was making blowguns when I was 11 years old and shooting people at my dad's office, and I got a lot of trouble with it at college at one point. They're a lot of fun, but you know, it's
Talk about blowguns, though. I know I had a friend of mine that you know had blowguns, and you know they were these super. You know, I mean, I'm not really. You know, up on blowguns, but apparently these were super duper long, like you know, just like beyond what a blowgun normally could actually do. But you know what happened was that he had sold some bulletproof vests to some of the medical marijuana dispensary security guards, and that particular dispensary got raided by the FBI, and his business cards were in the bulletproof vests. So, you know, this guy was like, you know, 26, 27 years old at the time, still living with his parents. And he walks out his door, and the feds have all the guns on him, surrounding him in his car, asking him because of the fact that he had sold these vests to the security guards, and they wanted to, I guess, interrogate him or question him. They popped his trunk, and, you know, he was a medical marijuana patient. He had a certain amount of, you know, legal amount of marijuana on him, and these blowguns. And they were scaring him by convicting him for having weapons and drugs on him, and that he might actually do, you know, real time for it.
Right.
And the blowguns was bad enough to be considered to qualify for that.
Well, any type of weapon even a kid can make that can fire something, you know, the police will be all on you for. But, you know, just think of how ridiculous that is. They're arresting him for blowguns, you know, and we're accepting that today. Think about what you said. We're okay with that when they're arresting kids for farting, when they're arresting young men for having a blowgun. For God's sakes, what country do we live in? You know, we should all be upset that they're, you know, and the cops will, of course, lie to them and say, you're going to go to federal prison for 20 years for this blowgun dart, you know? And it's ridiculous. You know, the laws that they're passing here in California are outrageous. People are going to jail for having magazines that are over 10 rounds, or even having parts of magazines. You know, imagine going to federal prison because you have a spring from a magazine. You know, that's what's happening today. How ridiculous is that? You know, for years they illegalized the bayonet lug on firearms and rifles like the AR-15. Now think about that. The bayonet was legal, but the little tiny piece of metal that protruded from the bottom of the barrel, that was illegal. And people would go to federal prison for having that. The bayonet was fine, the gun was fine, the bayonet lug was illegal. And many, many stupid laws that are passing today, that are going out there, and people being arrested for. There was a military gentleman that was arrested in New York because he had a couple of magazines in his car. Now, this is not bullets. This is not explosives. This is not guns. This is a magazine that he had from the base that were, we used to pick them up off the ground in the military, and they were like throwaway nothing. They were just like a little device that went in the bottom of the weapon that held the bullets. And now people are going to federal prison because of them. And we got to say, wait a minute. This is going way too far. And we should even say that with your friend in the blowgun. Can you imagine him going to jail with, federal prisoners that killed people? Or what are you in here for? I made a blowgun.
Right.
Is that ridiculous?
That's ridiculous. That is really ridiculous. We are going to take a break pretty soon here. I know for the last half of the show. One person proposed that here in the chat line that's, do you think the impending doom is going to be caused by Agenda 21, aka the Hydra Illuminati? If it is in fact a water disaster brought on by a drought, I don't know. You know what? I think I kind of lost it on that one there. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to.
But the drought. Okay, I can explain what they're talking about.
Okay. Oh wait, we got to come back for. I'm sorry, we lost time there. We got to come back. We'll be back with more Freedom of Joyce.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
We're in a narco-syndicalist commune. We're taking in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week. Yes. But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting. Yes, I see. By a civil majority in the case of purely internal affairs. Be quiet. But by a two-thirds majority in the case of more than... Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. Look, you stupid bastard. You've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look. It's just a flesh wound. I don't believe I am. It's a display of courage, skill, nerve breaks, stupidity. I'll do you for that. What? Come here. What are you going to do? Bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. A black knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us. Here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
How dare you? No, how dare you? No, how dare you? How dare you? No, how dare you? You dare condemn me? How dare you? How dare me when I how dare you? You big idiot.
Hello all, thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. We are the #1 public access, commercial-free internet talk radio station for the web. With between 12 and 16 hours of live programming per day, bringing you news, politics, entertainment, and just plain human interactive talks with our extremely informative and successful nightly open caller roundtables. And how do we do this? Through the support of volunteers and donations from good listeners like you. So if you're digging what you hear, and we are bringing you an entertaining and informative service, please visit our site support page and donate to the cause. Keep us live, keep us kicking, help us bring you the talk. We are already here. Help keep us here. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Revolution Radio!
Enjoy your extra big ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another?
Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to
Oh,
make the
no,
purchase.
no.
I'm sorry you're
Come
having trouble.
on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener supported and has a fundraising promotion. I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, good news, the fan, or you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack specials. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need as humans to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we doing live? It goes in the gun.
Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And we're back with more Freedom of Joyce on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I'm with my friend Dino Reynolds, who has a website called Dino Dad. That's Dad. Somebody was confused and said Dino Dead. It's not Dino Dead. DinoDad32.com. And also that's the same as your YouTube channel. But isn't it that people can find you easier just by going to the website first than searching you on the YouTube?
You know, if you type into any search these days, you put Dino Dad 32, and it'll bring you right to my YouTube channel. But the easiest way to find me and to comment is at my website at DinoDad32.com. And I appreciate you promoting my YouTube channel. I'm very passionate about the things that I have to say on that channel about current events, the things that we should all point out and say, hey, that's ridiculous. I mean, there's so many stupid things on the news today about Justin Bieber. Who cares? You know, where are the important things that are on the news? And we should all talk about the important things like the Federal Reserve and the false flags that they're showing us.
That is one subject matter that I do want to bring up right now is the false flags. Some people don't believe they actually even exist. I know that. I mean, I know that we, and I want to explore this topic because I am suspicious about stuff. I actually have my personal thoughts on the incidents like Sandy Hook and also the shooting that happened in Colorado with the Batman movie and the TSA shooting. You know, they're all kind of the Boston bombing. I mean, there's and you can look at the
biggest false flag, 9/11.
Well, yeah, 9/11. I mean, you can look at any so much on YouTube. There's so much out there of people calling these and pointing out things that don't make sense. and saying that these are false flags. What is your take on this? And does
Well,
is that part of your motivation to be doing what you're doing?
no, it's not really. I don't want to be considered a conspiracy theorist.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to be put into that category. But
Right.
I have great questions about what happened. I have, concerns about what happened to John F. Kennedy when he was shot. The incredibly ridiculous magic bullet theory. I mean, that's just the government lying to us. I mean, here we are. What is it, the 40th or 50th anniversary of John F. Kennedy being shot in Dallas? And they still can't explain how those bullets ended up where they did. And it's, anybody that knows anything about marksmanship, and I know a little bit about ballistics, can look at that and say, absolutely, there was a conspiracy there because that magic bullet couldn't have done what it did. And Lee Harvey Oswald, who was a mediocre shot at best, could not have taken those 3 shots in that time period. And we know the time period now. See, there's always the magic bullet in every conspiracy theory, and the question you have to ask. There's no way that bullet could have ended up, the magic bullet could have ended up where it did in the Kennedy assassination. There's no way that Oswald could have moved that Carcano molecular rifle in that 1.5 seconds that he had and shot accurately 3 times. We know that because we've done computer analysis of those shots these days. And no one has ever, did you notice no one has ever repeated what Oswald has done back in 1963 today? Did you know that? No one has been able to repeat that. And, a lot of false flags going on today that, I'm just suspicious of things. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, as I said. I'm not a truther. I don't want to be labeled that. But, I have some serious questions about what happened on 9/11.
Here's again with labels, though. I mean, don't you feel that, having those labels coming out at people is just another way of the people that are wanting to cover up what they're doing? Everybody, the media. Oh, there's always a label. There's always you're a libertarian. You're a Tea Partier. You're a conspiracy theorist. Anywhere you turn, somebody's going to label you something that you might view as being positive, as being a negative. I don't really, the fact that I mean, yes, you might call me a hippie. You might call me a conspiracy theorist. You might even call me a communist. You know what I mean? It's almost like I'm almost at the point that I feel that things are so up against the wall that I don't really care what you call me. I'm just a person who is questioning things that don't seem to add up right. And if you don't question stuff, I mean, obviously, when it was a 50-year anniversary of JFK, you couldn't look anywhere without being reminded that. You went to the grocery store and you went to the checkout stands and there were these special editions of JFK, it's been 50 years, what really happened. All of the alternative shows, almost everybody, even whether it be mainstream media or alternative media, was questioning and wondering what that is. I have friends that are filmmakers. I have a friend that's a filmmaker that is he did it. I don't know if they raised the money for it or not, but he did a what do you call like those the Indiegogo kind of stuff, where you raise funds for to make for a film. They did one of those, a startup, or with Ed Asner, because he has footage and interviews of people questioning what really did go on here. So yeah, you're right. We are starting with JFK. We did have Michael Moore do Fahrenheit 9/11 and put that initial question, even at a time where people were maybe not even ready to question what the truth of 9/11 might have been. Then you have like loose change. You have all these other different theories of like what's going on. Things don't make sense when it came down to the shooting at the Batman movie. First of all, I've been looking at the Batman stuff is kind of suspicious to me in the first place. You have Heath Ledger, who, dies, at a very young age, and, mentions about how he's taking pharmaceuticals because the character was so difficult for him to play. There was such an evil that he was exploring. and creating that character. And then to, see that the gunman, or the supposed gunman, that he was dressed up like the Joker. To think that there isn't in some way a connection, whether it's, that somehow maybe Hollywood, or that we have not been programmed, or even that kid was really severely programmed to do what he did. How could you not question that?
Well, there's a lot of things to question about James Holmes, the Batman shooter, and and there's a lot of strange things that came out after the Connecticut shooting, which doesn't make sense to me. They interviewed a lot of people after or during that shooting that had way too much knowledge, way too early about what happened. And, and there's, children that appeared with the president. I mean, how do you explain this? You got a child that appears with the president on video talking, and you look at the list of children that were killed and she's on that list. How did that happen? But there's many questions about that. But, we'll go back even further to 9/11. Now, again, I'm not a truther, but the more facts that come out about 9/11, we shouldn't let this year after year go on and not explore it. There's a magic bullet to each of these. And the magic bullet to me on 9/11, I would like someone to explain it to me. If someone could give a possible wild explanation why there is nanothermite in all the dust that was tested at the impact site at Ground Zero. Now, I worked with thermite when I was in the military. It's a highly explosive, highly flammable composite. And they have this new stuff called nanothermite, which is super hot, super explosive. That would be the perfect thing to take down those towers. Now, you know that no steel structure in New York has ever fallen after it's burned. Never in the history of New York City Fire Department has a steel structure burned and fallen to the ground. Now, we have 3 structures that supposedly fell because of burning and straight down. Now, to me, it seems pretty logical if they wanted to do that, they would take nanothermite and put it on all the main support pillars. They light it off at a certain time, and the whole building would come down, straight down as they did. Now, I would please love someone to explain to me why is nanothermite or traces of it found in every sample of dust that was tested at the 9/11 Ground Zero site. That, to me, is unexplainable. That, to me, raises questions amongst many, many other things that are questionable. Yeah, we could all stick our head in the sand and say, well, that didn't really happen like that, and the government really didn't do it. But right afterwards, they made a lot of money going back to Iraq. And, Halliburton and Dick Cheney got all the contracts, and they made billions off of it. We have to realize in this world that all wars are bankers' wars. All wars are there for some kind of money. We don't go there for freedom or for oil. Well, oil, because it makes us money. We go into war because there's money to be made. How many billions of dollars a week? We can't even keep track of it anymore. I used to keep track of it. How many billions of dollars a week we're spending on Afghanistan? We can send 1,000 kids to Harvard, every week what we're spending on, the war over there. We can send 100 kids to Harvard on what we're spending on, imprisoning people. This country has the largest prison population in the world. Did you know that? We have twice as many prisoners as the entire world combined. And that says something about
that's getting kind of scary too, I think.
But, one statistic that came out last week that we talked about, and I've heard different versions of it. Let's just do the conservative version. 86 people in this country today have more wealth than the bottom 3 billion people on Earth. This is the key. This is the biggest problem in our country. This is what we should be talking about. An incredible distribution, a bad distribution of our wealth. Okay? That's the key thing. unequal distribution of our wealth. There are people that are so rich today, and I see them all the time here in Hollywood. They have billions and billions of dollars. And $1 billion, as I said to you before, realize what kind of money that is. That's you spending $10,000 every 20 minutes for 32 years without any interest, and you wouldn't run out of money. You know, that kind of wealth that these people have could feed nations, you know, could end hunger overnight. The wealth of one person, like the Koch brothers, it wouldn't even be a drop in the bucket. $32 billion to them wouldn't even be a drop in the bucket. It could end world hunger. I mean, it's a shame people are homeless and hungry in this country when other people cannot spend that money in 10 lifetimes. The Koch brothers can go out there and throw money in the streets, and they couldn't throw it away fast enough to get rid of it. They got so much of it. Think about that. An unequal distribution of wealth. And that's what took down Rome, and that's what's going to happen today in this country. People are going to be saying, hey, I'm working hard my whole life, and I have nothing to show for it. And this guy who's living in this mansion, I can't spend his money. You know, that's the key thing.
You know, Dino, I do want to. We only have like maybe like another 15 minutes left for the show, and again, like I'm there's so much. This web just goes and goes and goes. You know, you go to the the 1% in our money, and we didn't even get where. I don't even think we're going to be able to even. One of our goals was to talk about the Federal Reserve. I'm not sure if we can even like really touch upon that. I still want to get back to the false flags because. To be honest with you, one of the reasons that I kind of took up so much interest in gun control and also the Second Amendment was looking at the incidents and looking at it and going, something feels really fishy to hear. And I think one of the things that I don't know about you, but my experience of being in the industry, being in Hollywood, being in show business, no one knows, someone waving the hand and making an illusion happen, then I mean if you've been in it, then you know what smoke and mirrors are, right? You know how you see how advertising is, you see how if you have a grasp of how to like survive in the entertainment business, how you have a sense of how to market yourself and how they're marketing people and how they're kind of I always say, I probably use this term way too much, but socially engineering us. And then you start to wonder, well, look, are these incidents actually really happening? Because now here's this incident, now there's this big shooting, this, happening, and, in Colorado, or there are these children were, which, by the way, I mean, it's a terrible, terrible tragedy.
Yes. Yeah,
but
that's the first thing we have to say.
It happens. There's Columbine that happened. There's these kids that are being conditioned with video games. We have all these video games that are teaching people to disassociate and just shoot things and play things just like a marksman would. Just like it feels like it would be the training video if you were actually really to go into the military or to become an assassin. You have all these things happening. Okay, so you now this is a normal everyday thing. You have like these teenagers on these psychotropic drugs, and who else knows what else might be going on with them. I'm not ruling out the fact that they are not MK Ultras, that they're not mind control. There's so much information out there that now they can beam electrical signals to a person's altar to make them be triggered, to go into the other personality that would do something like this. And we talk to people about the like you and I think we're having a better grasp of this being a reality. I talk to some other people, they go like, oh, you've lost it, really? Let's just ban guns. Like you're now you sound like you're a Fox News person, because apparently I don't watch Fox News, but I guess maybe they delve on into these topics as well. But I don't care about that. All I can see is that when you flip thumbnail through everything, you look through all your different websites, you do your little research, you trust your own intuition, you're going, something doesn't sound right. And another thing that I find interesting about all these false flags is they're always doing a drill at the same time that the actual event is happening. Why is that? Why is that happening? Why? What is that all about? In your opinion, what is that all about?
The fact, Terry, they're all smoke and mirrors. It's not what they seem, okay? And they use them to further their agenda. And their agenda includes making money for themselves. It's all about money. They're all false flags. They're all now the last three incidents, the one recently in the last few days in Hawaii was a policeman at a school, and the last two that were in the United States were done with shotguns. And no one cares about shotguns because, Joe Biden said everybody should go out and buy a shotgun. And they were just a blip on the news. But when you have a big shooting like the LAX shooting or Columbine or what happened to those poor kids, and we have to say these are tragedies and a terrible thing to happen. But let me tell you one important thing. With guns in the hands of the public, there will be tragedies. But without them, there will be genocide. And we have to believe that. And them wanting to take away our guns, they're doing this to try to take away our guns, to take away our power. And, it's smoke and mirrors, like you said. And I think you came up with some very good points about that they're trying to label you and I. Oh, man, he's a nut. He's a conspiracy theorist. They love to put us in a category and then dismiss us. But, there's more to it than what we're seeing. Okay, there's a purpose for it. And the news is vilifying guns on a daily basis. Watch when something happens next time. How many times they say, assault rifle, assault rifle,
right.
Assault rifle. The news loves to say that. And when the police are carrying the exact same gun, they call it a long rifle. Oh, it's not as deadly. The police are using it. It's a long rifle. And there's so many stupid things that they come out with, and they don't really explain. Like, I believe that what happened in Colorado didn't involve an AR-15. First they said there was one, then there wasn't one, there was a second suspect, there was his brother. And finally, did you know, they came out at the end and said, well, there was really no AR-15. But they said AR-15, and, Pierce Morgan was on the news every night screaming, yelling, AR-15s, why does anybody need one? Pierce Morgan loves to say, well, how many AR-15s are really used in defense? And you know what my answer to that is? 100%. All of them are used in defense. When I have that hanging in my house, that deters anybody from coming into my house and harming my family. Okay? 100%, Pierce Morgan. They're all used in defense in one way or another. And, you had some great points about, we want to get into a couple of subjects. I want to commend you once again for all your work on the radio, and what you do off the radio is you go out and really try to make a difference. If it's for, the legalized marijuana movement or the Occupy movement, Terry is out there working hard so we all keep our freedom. She's just not talking on the radio. She's not blabbing on YouTube or sitting on her couch. She's out there making a difference in this world, and we should all commend her for doing that. And we should all spend a little bit of our time, talking about things that aren't right and going out there. And that would change this whole country if we just volunteered a little bit of our time to the things that we find distasteful, like the unequal distribution of wealth, or the news media that's biased towards anti-guns. And, you wanted to touch upon the subject. I can do it very quickly on the Federal Reserve. I mean, we can go into days on that. Would you like to talk about that?
Well, we kind of like we're really down to maybe the last 3 minutes of our broadcast, Dino, and I think that the Federal Reserve is such a huge. I'd love to have you come back, next month, sometime if you could. Let's talk about like when we get off the air about have you back on as a guest, and
love to do that.
because I think it would be a lot of fun to have you on again. You've got so much going on, and again, I don't think, so many thoughts on what's happening. And where can our listeners find you again, Dino?
Well, they can go to my YouTube channel, and the best way to get there is go to my website at dinodad32.com. That's DINODAD like father 32.com. DinoDad32.com. There's a link right up on top. It'll send you to my YouTube page, and I hope you enjoy it and watch a couple of the videos. Some of them are funny, some of them are very serious about politics, and I hope you go there and make a comment on my videos. Or
Great.
you know,
Thank you so much, Dino. And thank you for listening, everybody, to the show. We'll be
you,
back
Sherry.
next week.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.
Oscar's freeze. That's just evil portals looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows it's real.
God is filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Been ruled by a lucky girl.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna save this right here. I actually